What's the craziest things you guys have seen on the doors?
First person I knock, comes out, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. And he grabs my shirt. So I start slowly walking. The dudes follow me out. I act like I'm running to the left and just take off. Just start sprinting, like booking completely out of the neighborhood. I walk all the way around to my car, like go to somewhere else.
I got put in the back of a cop car my first day. I was like 2 hours in the start of the season, and the cops rolled up on me. Some people called in and they said, "You look suspicious." Put me in the back of the car and drove me out of there.
I was so tenacious back when I was in the field that I never missed an appointment. I don't care if it was 11 p.m. Like I was showing up for that last appointment. And I was in Southside, I was in the hood, Southside Chicago. And I pull up to this house and then I go to knock on the door. I just feel like rustling inside. It's quite quiet. And he's like, "Hey, who is it?" And I was like, "It's Jonah for the mortgage protection." And he like peeks out the door and kind of like looks at me. He's like, "Oh man, what's up?" And like flings the door open. He's holding a gun in one hand. He like threw the gun on like his side table. But other than that, I closed it. Here with the boys, the Visionaries. What's up, guys?
How we doing?
Good. How long you guys been in sales for?
4 years.
4 years? 3?
7.
7. You've been in sales for 7 years?
Oh yeah.
You feel like you got some lessons, you got some wisdom. We'll
Very
share on this
nice.
podcast. I'm excited to dive into it. So you guys were in door-to-door before this, before transitioning to remote insurance sales. How long are you guys in door-to-door sales for?
I was in door-to-door sales for 2 years.
2 years?
2.
2. Okay, cool. What made it make sense to switch from door-to-door to remote sales?
I think just the freedom to work remotely. That was the main thing. Not being out in the snow, the heat, getting chased by dogs and cops. Being able to work from wherever, work remotely, do the same thing.
For sure. And just being in a much higher leverage opportunity vehicle. Where I always tell people, my kids will 100% start sales in door-to-door. It's the best. It builds character, it builds grit. You just get out there, having that in-person interactions with people is so important. That's one thing I'm thankful for. Of back when we were in person, I was in person for the first 2 years, and because I would driving out to Wisconsin, Chicago. I mean, I talked to a lot of different demographics of people living downtown Chicago. There was one day where I'd be sitting down with an African American family in the South Side Chicago in the complete hood, and then the next day I'm in Wisconsin, out in rural Wisconsin in the country, and I'm sitting down with a 70-year-old farmer and his wife that have just lived on the land for the past 20 years. So there's just talking to different types of people and different demographics it's so important. And then then the next I'd be downtown and talking to a surgeon in his $6 million penthouse. So just talking to different demographics of people and having that in-person interaction is huge. But what's great about remote sales is you're just able to have such more efficiency with your time. Being able to sell remotely, not having to knock doors, because when you're knocking doors, you're going out there, you're spending 90% of your time. What are you looking for? You're trying to acquire leads, trying to talk to people, find people that are interested. They don't know what you're knocking about. They don't know what you're knocking on their door for. First with insurance, they filled it out. They need it. They know they need it. So it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're calling people that filled out a request for your product or service, well, you're just naturally going to sell more of that product or service. And so that's why I think it just makes a lot more sense for people where, yes, it's a grind, but it's a higher leverage vehicle. One of my favorite quotes is Warren Buffett. He said, "It's not about how hard you row, it's about what boat you're in." So you could row really hard, but if you're in the wrong boat, well, you're not going to get as far. But I want to go back to and transition because I've got some wild in-home stories. And I know you guys do too, especially being on the doors. So what are the craziest stories? What's the craziest things you guys have seen on the doors?
I have one I'll never forget. Like, it's just like gated community, and with the doors, like, like when you're in a good area, it's hot. Like you want to like make the most out of that area. Yeah. And I already knew what it was. It was like, but they were a little older, right? So it was kind of like the older community, but a little bit more money. First person.
Where were you knocking on?
This is in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Pennsylvania. So first person I knock is actually the HOA president. Comes out. It's like, "What are you doing here? Like, you shouldn't be here." And he like grabs my shirt. and like tries to like drag it. And I'm like, I kind of like walk away from him, like get off of him, and he's like, "Where's your car?" Like, I'm gonna walk you to your car, right? So, in the doors, like this type of stuff kills your momentum. So I'm like, I gotta get out of there. So what I start doing is I start slowly walking, right? And this dude's following me out. And I like act like I'm running to the left. This super old guy, so I already know I'm gonna act like I'm running to the left and just take off. I just start sprinting, like booking it completely out of the neighborhood, all the way out. I walk all the way around to my car, like go to somewhere else, and like I've had other stuff like guns pulled, stuff like that. Like everybody in Georgia got an experience like that. But that's the one time like somebody's actually like chased me or like tried to like actually like grab me or whatever, and I just had to sprint out of there.
I can just imagine somebody chasing after me. And Lucas is just running after me. That'd be hilarious. So that's any crazy experiences you guys can think of?
I got put in the back of a cop car my first day.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was about...
Great start to the job.
Yeah. No, I was like 2 hours in to the start of the season, and the cops rolled up on me and said, "Hey, some people called in. They said you looked suspicious." Put me in the back of the car and drove me out of there.
Do you tell your new guys about that?
No, honestly, haven't
Bro,
told many people
you should.
that.
You got a new agent that's having they're just getting shit on. Horrible first day. Be like, well, at least you can spend your first day on life insurance in the back of a cop car.
Yeah.
So, okay, I remember I had a guy. He was this was actually dumb. This was really dumb. But I was so tenacious back when I was in the field that I never missed an appointment. I don't care if it was 11 p.m. Like, I was showing up to that last appointment. When you're in person, it's pretty common you're running an hour, 2 hours behind. So it wasn't crazy. It was, I don't know, 8:30, 9 p.m., probably 9 p.m. But it was winter time, so it'd been dark for a couple hours. And I was in the hood, south side of Chicago. And I pull up to this house, and then I go to knock on the door, and it's just like, I just feel like rustling inside. It's quite quiet. And then I knock on the door again, and he's like, "Hey, who is it?" And I was like, he's right outside the door. I was like, "It's Jonah for the mortgage protection." And he peeks out the door. He kind of looks at me, and I was like, "For our appointment." He's like, "Oh man, what's up?" And flings the door open. He's holding a gun in one hand, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, man? Come on inside." And then he just completely casual, and he walked in. He threw the gun on his side table or the dining room table. But other than that, I closed it, and it was great. It was fine. So we covered the full mortgage, and I remember there's actually this other one where, bro, it was so bad. It was a final expense appointment. And have you guys ever been inside of a hoarder's home?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. and I go to knock on the door, and she said, "Hey, it's open, come inside." And I go inside, and there's just crap piled up everywhere. And there's a little path walking through. So then there's the front door, and then you go inside, and then there's the living rooms and the side room. So basically there's a path that I can walk through, and I go in the side living room, and I don't know if she was in her underwear or she was naked, but she was so fat. She was in a wheelchair that it was just like the Jabba the Hutt. She was a glob. And I was like, oh my God. And I was just sitting there taking the financial inventory, and I was trying not to look at her. I ended up closing it too, but thank God for remote sales, because that was wild. That was wild.
A little guaranteed issue for that one.
I don't even remember. It probably was. Yeah, it was either AHL or guaranteed issue, because she was not fitting the bill chart at all. But I want to transition to so now that you guys have been in remote insurance sales, you guys are not only producing on a consistent clip, but you guys have recently partnered, and your agency is absolutely exploding. So I would love to go around and share a few lessons that each of you guys have learned so far being in the insurance industry. So JP, we'll start with you.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and you talked about it this morning in the meeting, people's success, it's not on our shoulders. It's them showing up, doing what they need to do every single day.
Yeah.
I think I let that weigh on me a lot. And like, I took it as my responsibility. If somebody didn't make it in this, I was like, oh, well, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? I think those are still good questions to ask, but not everybody's going to make it. Not everybody's going to, push through the adversity and the struggle. So, just waking up every day feeling like everyone else's success was dependent on me, it's not healthy. So I think that was one of the main things early on, for sure.
I think it's one thing a lot of leaders struggle with is they try to be a savior to their people. And there's only one savior, Jesus Christ, and he was crucified. So if you try to save everybody, you end up saving nobody and destroying yourself in the process. So it's that balance of providing value to your people, loving them, but also setting high expectations. And I think, especially in the Christian community, this is one thing I was just talking with somebody about, where there's a culture of just over forgiveness, or what's the word I'm looking for? I would say just an overabundance of grace, I'd say, where it's like, it's okay, like, just keep trying and keep working hard and everything else. But eventually, even God stops giving us grace at some point. And that's where we're eternally separated from him. So it's the same thing with the people in our business, where I always tell agents, I say, hey, when you're new, focus on your inputs. Once you're past 90 days, focus on results. I'm here to freaking win. It doesn't matter how hard you worked or how much you tried or what you thought you did. At the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. What are you issue paying, and what does your business growth look like month over month? What are the numbers? What is your agency production? What are your agents doing, and what is your personal production? And those are the three metrics we've always looked at. And at the end of the day, those are the only thing that matters. So I'm here to win. I'm here to play for results. And so I think some agents where it's that toxic positivity of like hopefully, next week, hopefully I'll do better. Hopefully next week will be better. It's like, no, what are you going to do to make it better? What are you going to do differently? What are you going to change? I think having that conversation with agents is one thing where I see people, they either go too far in the spectrum of being too hard and trying to do everything for their people, or being too hard on them, or they have this overabundance of grace, and finding that middle ground and that balance between the two is one thing I've learned. But that's good.
Yeah, I did a lot of coddling. I think Joe's helped with that. Like, he's more cutthroat.
Joe doesn't take no shit.
Yeah. I'm a coddler, and I've gotten better, and he's brought me closer to it, and kind of meet in the middle. I think it's a good balance. So.
Yeah. What are some lessons that you've learned?
Scare money don't make money.
Yeah.
Coming from the doors.
If you want to talk closer to the mic too.
Yeah. Coming from the doors, it's all free, right?
Yeah.
When you're going around just knocking, right? But when you come here, you hear the phrase, treat this like a business, a lot. And I know these guys told me, coming in, but you don't really have a clear grasp of what that means until you do this. And I feel like I finally just eclipsed that, understanding. But it's still, evolving. But even when you're making money, you're not making money because your business is making money. And that's something you hit on this morning that I think is really good. And the conversation that you guys had to an extent, even when you are profiting, you shouldn't be, because you should be putting it into the right areas that are going to make you more money, longer down the road. Mm-hmm. And something Mike just hit on too. But when you come from the arena of free leads, basically, to where no, I have to invest in these leads. So framing it, instead of just buying leads, it's investing in them, and you're buying your time back. I'm paying to sit down and close versus to go prospect for free. So from a time efficiency standpoint, it makes complete sense. And then also, a lot of people from the other sales jobs, they go and blow a ton of money on the material stuff. So that's something that I think is very easy to get caught up in, but at the same time, that's not going to help you achieve your goals and build your business the way that we want to do it. So as opposed to putting them into those things, it's putting them into the right things here that are going to grow your agents, develop you as a person, so you can raise your income in the floor of the organization, and then also just get the long term set.
Yeah. And that's something that I've been that I've had to work on with a few agents, and I've been working on one-on-one calls, is instilling that long-term vision into people. Or one thing my dad told me when I first got into this, he said, well, if you're going to do this, it's a 10-year run. And one thing that's really hurt a lot of people's perspective and perception of this industry, and honestly expectations as well, is social media. They see guys driving Lamborghinis and Giuliano Massarelli and all these guys, and it's just completely distorted. None of that's real. And so for me, I was pleasantly surprised along the way, because I had the mindset of, hey, I'm going to come into this, I'm going to work my ass off, I'm going to eat shit, and hopefully 10 years from now I'll be making $1 million a year. Luckily, it happened a lot sooner than that, and I was pleasantly surprised along the way. But it's that interesting balance of having high expectations and high belief and high standards for yourself, but also in a way undershooting yourself. And like I'll over exaggerate in my mind how hard something's going to be or how much work it's going to take. So when I do hit it, it's like, oh, sick. That wasn't as bad as what I thought. And so many agents, they have the opposite perspective where they're like, oh dude, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to be printing money 90 days in. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Like you've got to come into this, and I hope you have success quickly. And a lot of people do, but mentally expect to eat shit. And that's why I always tell people, on any interview, I say, hey, expect to make nothing your first 30. Like you're going to make no money. It's going to be terrible your first 30 days. And it might be, and it might not be. Hopefully they figure it out a lot quicker, and I would expect that they do. But it's that like setting those expectations, and it's always under promising and over delivering is always my goal with everybody in the business. So I think if we can also do that with ourselves and as leaders within it, it just makes everything so much easier. Because it's so easy for us, like it's easy for us to forget how blessed we are, for real. Because in any other industry or any other business, it's like you've got to climb the corporate ladder for 20 years. Hopefully I'll be a millionaire by then. By the time I'm 40 or 50 or 60, or by the time I'm going to retire. Dude, you can do that in 3, 4, 5 years here. It's gonna take a lot of work, but it ain't. You can get there in a quarter of the time, if not quicker, as long as you do the right things. It's like, bro, look at the 4 of us in this room. We're all in our 20s. We're all so young, and we have such a great opportunity at our fingertips. And so it's easy to kind of get distorted and put the blinders on and not look up and be like, oh, this is what everybody else is doing. Like I'm in a crazy unique niche where I have a real opportunity here. And that's one thing that's really helped me to always have a heart of gratitude, is just having that perspective and really realizing how blessed we are. So that's good. I like how you said that and what you said. And it's instilling in agents, going back to what you said of, you have to have a long-term perspective. Because a brand new agent, the reason anybody fails in this business is A, low belief in themselves, but secondly, they just didn't have a long-term perspective. Because anytime I see somebody talented fail, it's so illogical. So I see so many people. It's like, dog, you were so talented and you were so good, and if only you would have just stuck with it for another 60 days, for another 30 days, you would be in so much of a different situation. But the problem is, they can't think past next week, next month. They're thinking about tomorrow, the next day, next week. Lucas, what are some lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, I think
industry?
Ultimately, like kind of like what you just said, like the scalability of it, right? Like with this business, like compared to the doors, hey, there's no door that's different than another, right? You can get a better lead type, you can get a fresher lead type, you can run different systems to where, you can actually scale this thing. And any other business, right, requires upfront costs, overhead costs. Like you get a license, you get all these other things, you're able to just get rolling. So like on terms of being able to start somebody and also being able to start a business like this, I don't see anything that is more scalable, because someone can come in and, just like you said, hey, 3-4 years of diligent hard work, but they can be in the position to have talks with private equity, be able to, set these things up. And really all it requires is seeing what's actually at the table and just, hey, putting more money into it, right? Learning these different things. And ultimately that's, the point where we're at now is, hey, we've had a ton of raw talent. We've had a ton of people come in. Now it's actually scaling it with the people that we wanted to scale with, right?
Mm-hmm. That's good. JP, do you believe leadership is something that you're born with, or something you develop along the way, and why?
I think some people are born with a better grasp of it, but I think it's something you develop along the way. I think you could use your story, for example. When you were 18, you probably didn't look at yourself as a leader, and the people around you probably felt the same way, right?
Yeah, heck no, dude.
Yeah.
When I was 18, I was smoking weed and being a DJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people. Lucas is a good example as well. I don't think anybody looked at him as a leader, but it's been fun to watch the past few years, him develop and grow into it. And I think the biggest thing that drives that is it's really hard to show up every day for yourself. You know, that's like a discipline that takes more. You have to want it a lot more.
Yeah.
But when you're showing up for other people, I think it develops that skill set for leadership significantly quicker.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I think it's something you grow into for sure.
What are some things that have helped you develop as a leader and grow?
Being able to step back when you make a mistake, own it, and figure out how to avoid it next time. You know, just being able to be vulnerable with yourself and real with yourself. Like, hey, I messed up. What was I thinking that led me down that path, and what am I going to do next time to avoid it? And how am I going to show others how to avoid that mistake in their business?
Having that honest, raw accountability of yourself. That's one thing that not a lot of people. I think we live in a society that's very non-confrontational. People don't want to be uncomfortable. And the number one person we don't confront is ourselves. So that's where I see other agents where they live in this, it's either delusional negativity or delusional positivity, where a lot of times people are struggling. Where this delusional positivity, they're like, it's okay, and I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep making $300 a day, and hopefully next week is better. No, dog, what are you going to do to make next week better? Where are you seeing measurable growth in your success? Because people don't get burnt out when they're working hard. People get burnt out when they're not seeing results. So where are you getting results? Not only on the scoreboard, but even if you haven't had the results yet, where are you having measurable growth within yourself and within your business? Like, okay, how did that presentation go? How far did you get? Did you handle that better? What does your tonality look like? What are your tie downs when you're booking appointments? Are you consistently implementing training videos? Are you hitting your numbers you need to be hitting every day? Your dials, your presentations, everything else. Are you tracking your numbers? Are those numbers improving from conversations to presentations to closes, everything else? So if you can have measurable development, that's what people, it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. Whether you're brand new or you've been doing this for 10 years, you always need to consistently be progressing and developing within yourself, and then more importantly, as a leader. And that's definitely one thing I've always been working on, but I've really been working on this past year, is having that honest audit of yourself and think, okay, where am I actually weak? I'm always asking myself the question, where am I failing in my business right now? Where am I failing in my business? Every single day. And so it's one of those things where the hardest person, the person we're the hardest on is ourselves, and that can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, depending on our mindset behind it. Because some people are hard on themselves in a toxic way, but you can be hard on yourself in a positive way, where it's like, hey dog, like, dude, that's where you're at now, but this is where we're looking to grow. This is where we're looking to go, and I'm nowhere close to the person I need to be, and this is how I'm going to get there. And I'm going to hold myself to a high standard. Like my dad growing up, he was really hard on me. And for a while I resented that, but then now I realized looking back it was because he loved me, and it was because he wanted the best for me. And I'm really thankful that we went through that. So it's the same thing with ourselves, where having that honest audit. And then I'll say one more thing, because I'm really glad you brought this up. This is a really great topic. There's a difference between self-reflection and overanalyzation. A lot of agents get stuck in the overanalyzation part of things, where they're thinking, oh, what if this doesn't work out? What if it goes wrong? What if this happens? What if that happens? And they're thinking about all of these things that are outside of their control. Don't pay any attention doing that. But other agents, where maybe they don't want to have those uncomfortable thoughts, they don't want to be honest with themselves, or like you said, self-reflect, whatever it is, they just think, all right, I'm just going to keep dialing. I'm just going to keep doing it. And yeah, there's some truth to that. Like, you do need to put your head down and go. But it's also, the definition of insanity is continually doing the same thing over and over again. So at the end of every day, one thing that helped me was when I was in the field, I was either running Lake County, Indiana, which was an hour and a half drive south, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Racine, Wisconsin, which is a 2-hour drive north. So I had between an hour and a half to 2-hour drive every single day, up there and back. So driving up, dude, I was able to get 2 hours of trainings in every day. On the way back, I was in the car, and if I had a shit day, that was a long car ride. But it was really great, and it was really helpful for me because then it really helped me reflect of, okay, cool. What did I do well today? Where could I improve? What do I need to be working on? And just having that time with myself, by myself in my car to self-reflect and not overanalyze, but you do need to take some time by yourself to really reflect and think, okay, where can I develop and where can I grow? And especially by yourself. Because one thing that I've learned, it's definitely true for me, and I would assume it's true for other people, but it's hard to develop and grow when you're always around and always with other people. I really believe development comes in solitude, where you need to be there's a balance to it, because you need to be around other people to help hold you accountable and hold you to a higher standard. But it's if you have that time to yourself to self-reflect, for me at least, man, that's so powerful, and that's good. So I'd encourage everybody watching this. It doesn't need to be 2 hours or an hour and a half, but take at least 10, 15 minutes a day. And whether it's journaling, I've never been somebody to journal, but whether it's journaling or breath work or prayer or meditation or just sitting in a room without your phone and staring at the wall and sitting alone in your thoughts, whatever that looks like, I think that's something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but is important for growth, is not only in your business, but also as an individual. So Lucas, you're somebody that you're in charge of a lot of the systems and organization of the business. What are some things that you've worked on, or some advice that you'd give to the agents watching this where they can be better organized within their business?
Yeah, I think ultimately, especially when you first start, right, it's dial trackers, it's, all these different things.
Yeah.
I remember when, I first started getting on the, one-on-one calls with Claudia, right, going over my dials, appointments.
She just ripping.
Yeah, and she's ripping me, grilling me. She's like, well, why aren't you doing 300 dials? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And it makes it so much easier when you see these things for yourself, because it's like that doctor analogy, right? If you go to the doctor and say, hey, my leg hurts, he's not just going to start working on you, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to diagnose the problem. So same idea, like all these agents need to, diagnose where they're going wrong, right? Am I, not getting enough leads? Am I not, doing this? Am I calling the same batch I've been calling for the last, 2 weeks? Hey, those probably aren't going to answer now, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when you have everything in front of you, it makes it super easy to, diagnose the problem and fix it. Mm-hmm. So whether it be making sure everything on your Google Calendar is in order, because I remember when I first started, I had a notepad where I would write down when the day started. I had my dial tracker. I would make my dial tracker, and then I would literally write down what I have for the day. I wasn't organized. I would lose appointments. I'd miss appointments. So when I was able to...
It's the worst. It's the worst feeling.
Yeah, it's like... Or when somebody calls you and is like, oh, hey, I missed you. And it's like, oh, like, that was a laydown, Like, so I think ultimately making sure that you can diagnose the problem, right? Yeah. Especially when I first started, it was realizing, hey, if I'm just endlessly dialing and I'm not tracking it, like, I have no idea where I'm going wrong, how I'm going wrong. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think just making sure that everything's in one spot, right? Whether it's, you like to use Google Drive, whether it's, on Apple, however it may be. But I think that was one of the biggest things, and especially for new agents that, you may be wanting to get to the 30 to 40K months, but you're doing 10 to 15. Well, if you don't know what you need to work on, how can you, expect to get better?
It's also that accountability for yourself too. It's kind of like I've got a Whoop. I know I see you have one too. I love my Whoop. This thing is it's so helpful for me staying locked in because it gamifies the process. Because, dude, I'm so much more motivated to work out, and not only work out but hit an intentional lift. Because if I hit a lift and it's like, oh, you burned 97 calories and you were in zone 0 the entire time. It's like, did you really work out? Versus, oh, you burned 600 calories and you hit zone 5 for this amount of minutes per for the workout, and this is and these are all my metrics. I was like, all right, that was a good workout. So it's like same thing with my sleep. Like, I want to have a good sleep score. I want to be locked in. I want to have a good recovery, all these different things. So it helps me gamify the process. Same thing with agents, where when you can't see your data, like you said, you don't know where to improve. But it's also the more you can systematize, the more you can stay organized, the more money you're going to make, the more you can systematize, the easier it is to scale, and the more you can gamify the process, the more fun you're going to have. That's it. If you can just do those 3 things, that is how you scale in this business, and enjoy the process along the way. So I think, I would tell people, if you're not tracking your numbers, or if you don't have an organized book of business, that's just stupid. It's just stupid. What are you doing? Because you're talking about, even as a new agent, like, you got laydowns calling you back that you didn't have their information written down, or you lost it or whatever. It's like, dude, this is like, I would get, and I was that agent too, and I would get so mad at myself because I'm like, dude, that's such a dumb mistake to make. Like, you're better than this. What are you doing, Jonah?
Right, Ricky.
How'd you fumble that? So, man, yeah, that's a helpful reminder for new agents, though. The more organized you are, the more money you will make, 100% guaranteed. And then I'll add to that too, where one thing we sit down with all of our guys and go over now is, all right, not only is your book of business organized, but a couple things specifically in the book is tracking underwriting to decline to approved policies. That's one thing that agents aren't taking the time for that they need to be. Like, some agents are just gunning and slinging and throwing stuff against the wall. Make sure you're taking enough time to really know, okay, this was referred to underwriting. I'm going to complete these pending requirements. This was declined. Do this, boom, boom, boom. And then secondly, this is what I would do. So when I was in person, I would take a picture with every client. So I'll scroll through my contact. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that I have pictures with. And I would never forget anybody because I would look at the picture and I'd instantly remember that person. When I switched to remote sales, I didn't have that. So what I did is I would write down, as soon as I got off the call with them, I would write down as much information as I could possibly remember. It's like, all right, they're a Green Bay Packers fan. All right, they're from, I don't know, like their grandfather came from Germany, or like some interesting story they had, or something we built rapport on, or whatever I could remember that person by. Because if somebody called me back 6 months, a year later, whatever it was, I want to make sure I remember that person and make sure that relationship is solid. And then because I was able to do that, once I went in and I went back through my annual reviews, and let's be honest, a lot of times the clients don't even remember us.
Right.
They don't remember us calling them.
Right.
So if you're like, hey, it's Jonah. Hey, I called you a year ago, and then you know a fact about them, and you're like, hey, remember our conversation about that? They're like, oh, yeah. And then boom. And then just little things like that. It's always these 1% things that you implement into your business that make a world of difference and can really be the main separator from a 200K producer to a 400K President's Club producer. And that's a fact. So I want to go over any other leadership lessons or things you guys have implemented or learned that you want to share before we wrap this podcast up.
Yeah.
I know you got some, Joe.
I think the best one kind of speaks for itself, but leading by example. So
Amen to that.
Just don't expect them to do something that you're not willing to do or you haven't done.
Yes.
You know, simply put. But also, I think when you frame everything the right way, and this I'll backtrack a little bit. What really helped me were 2 things: observation and then experience. So as far as experience, I played lacrosse.
Yeah.
So in high school, I was a captain the entire time. So like that was really, really good experience. And then in college, I was for 2 years. So that really forced me to be like a leader as much as possible and embody everything that I was trying to, tell the team. And then from there, observation, like observing the people that are elite leaders and what they're doing, like how they communicate, how they would handle certain situations. So that's where like you get around those people, you ask them questions, or you're listening to podcasts where like they're diving into those things. So it would be the observation and the experience. But taking all of that in, then I think the next step is you're continuing to develop yourself, because that's a never-ending game.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people can make a lot of money anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that they'll make it with you is because they see who they've became and what their life has become, through working with you. So I think that's where the emphasis goes on to the personal development with your team members, because if they see that they're leveling up in all these aspects and they're becoming a leader and they're noticing like noticeable differences in their life about like how they would handle a certain situation with their mindset, like maybe, oh yeah, I had a chargeback and I crash out, but now I have a $3,000 chargeback, and it's like, doesn't matter, I'm going to go get the next deal. So like, those are little things that they realize. And I think when you compile all of those like that makes a huge difference with just the buy-in of your organization, also just the unity and the chemistry.
Because we always talk about how important personal development is for ourselves, especially as leaders. But that's not, I really like what you said about also holding our agents to the same standard of holding our people to, hey, are you personally developing? And that's how you not only build a really great team, but build a really great culture. And you create a community. I know in your school academy, you got a whole list of books that I really like. A lot of those are some of my favorite books I've ever read, actually, where you have agents read. What are some other ways that you help hold your guys accountable to leveling up their personal development?
Yeah, like on the training calls, like we have a book club. So like we just did for this month, it's going to be Grit by Angela Duckworth. So that's a really good one. I read that twice.
Nice.
And then we have the school, but I think, like you said, gamify it. So like I made we actually all 5 of us did. We made little group chats with some newer agents, and we threw certain people in there that have a lot of potential. And we're like, all right, like we're going to send one thing we did well today, one thing we need to do better tomorrow, and then our favorite experience. So every day they've been sending those in there, and then maybe like a gym photo in the morning just as like a accountability. So making it like a form of competition to where, you know, you can let yourself down, like JP said, but it's one thing to let down everyone else in your little group. And then they know, because it's a small enough group to where like, oh, you know, so-and-so didn't send the photo today, and they're supposed to. So just making it more of a game and more competitive, and then like doing things in the office where you're competing on a daily basis with the inputs. I think we do a really good job of stressing the inputs over the results, especially for people starting out. Like, it's not necessarily, all right, like how many deals did you have today? It's how many presentations did you get to? And helping them understand, if you're getting to the presentations, you're eventually going to get to the deals.
Yeah. And I love that you guys do that, because as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how a couple of my mentors, Nick Alfano, which he did our leadership retreat. He's had a lot of success. He ran multiple call centers, making $1 million a year passively from that. He's an attorney, a lawyer, so he's done a lot of stuff in his life. And another mentor, Nick Long, his company Founders, what they do now is he's sold and exited multiple businesses. He's ran successful sales teams too. Now their company helps other entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses. So he's actually working with us and mentoring us right now on how to properly structure our business to get it sellable. The reason I bring both of them up is they're pretty close, and they have a group of elite people. It's him, Troy Hoffman, who Troy is worth, I don't know, $80, $100 million, and all these guys that are very high level. They have this group chat, and every day, I remember Nick, I remember I've had a couple meals with him. He'd always take a picture of his meal. I'm like, you posting on your Instagram? He's like, oh no. He's like, I send this in the group chat for accountability. And I've got this guy who's more jacked than me, made more money than me, is a lot older than me, and even him, with all of his buddies, which they've all had a lot of success as well, even they have a group chat where they hold themselves accountable. So the reason I bring that up is I see some guys where they're like, oh, like, I don't need that, or I'm already disciplined, like I'm too locked in. But it's like, dude, it's either A, that may be true, but don't be selfish, because you can help somebody else and lead by example. So either you need it or somebody else needs that accountability. But groups like that, dude, that's great. I love that. That's phenomenal. So what are your guys' goals coming into, we're halfway through 2026. What are your goals for the rest of this year going into next year?
Going into next year, so 2027.
Yeah.
We want to be doing $3 million a month by the end of this year, and then hit 5 as soon as possible.
Let's go.
So
how much are you guys doing now?
Just over 1.
Yeah, you guys just hit over 1 million.
Yep.
You and the AZ boys are neck and neck in terms of production.
And that's actually something that, because like when you're not personally selling as much, it's hard to get competitive. Or it's not harder, it's just you have to frame it differently.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, like Visionaries needs to be at the top for the contracting and then the score.
Yes.
Like as a team. So like that's something that helps fire me up, is like looking at it being neck and neck. So like I know Lucas thinks the same way on that front.
Bro, same. Every time they send the stats in the leadership chat, Every time Brad sends those over, I'm like, oh, where are we at? Where are we at? We need to be top contract. Yeah, we're in the exact same wavelength.
It's real though, because if
Yeah.
you like, that's another form of gamifying it. You know, to your point earlier, like people go all out if they're competing. And,
Yes.
like that's something that like I dive very hard into, is the competitiveness. So 3 million as a team, and then this is more so like a personal goal, but I want 250 people profiting 10K a month, and I want to personally bring in 300 people within the next year. So whenever that comes to fruition.
Let's go. Huge. JP, Lucas, what are your guys' goals? Either personal or business?
Yeah, I think I want at least like 10 to 15 of our main leaders to make at least like $500,000 this year. I think
Fire.
with the squad that we have coming, and we're gonna at least have 10, but I think 15 would be sweet.
Heck yeah. Let's go. JP?
Yeah, outside of the business, I want to get that Columbia orphanage built.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I love that.
I want to take a trip down there towards the end of the year. I think, for a lot of these younger guys, they haven't seen these different perspectives. Like you said earlier, a lot
Yeah.
of them are spoiled.
Yeah.
They think making 10K a month, 15, 20K a month is normal and average. And I think for me, like I went down to Mexico a few years ago, and that was like the biggest perspective change I've had in my life, where I'm like, these people don't have a roof over their head. They don't know where they're going to get their next meal. They can't go get a clean glass of water. And, we're complaining about whatever little thing in our day that didn't go how we wanted it to. So I think getting the whole squad down there and having a goal that we're working towards to be able to, give back and build that orphanage, I think that'll be massive. So,
Yeah. Man, it's because I just got. You should actually come down with me at some point to the orphanage in Mexico with Pastor Sammy. But it was I had Pastor Sammy over till he was over last week till 2 a.m. And I actually have never shared this publicly, but we had somebody that we really trusted. We lost over 6 figures, and it was like something that I really was praying, hey God, please allow me to forgive this person. Like something that I've been wrestling with for the past few months. And it was I was talking with Pastor Sammy about it. I said, Pastor Sammy, like, how do I forgive this person? How do I deal with this and let this go? And how should I handle this? And he didn't tell me how to handle it, but he shared a story. And this is there's a little boy in the orphanage, and actually I know who this was. I got to spend time with him when I was down there. But he was like, man, there's this little boy, and his mom, she wouldn't let him sleep. She wouldn't let him. He was 6 years old, and she kicked him out, and so he's having to sleep on the street. And she wouldn't let him come home because she was dating another guy, and I guess the guy didn't like him or whatever the case was. So he was having to sleep on the street and like eat just garbage and dig out of trash cans to find food. And then his mom was going to drop him off at an orphanage because she didn't want him anymore. And he said, well, if you're going to drop me off somewhere, bring me to the church. So she dropped him off at the church, and he and then he's been living there for the past year. And then for Mother's Day, he had a suit, and this past Mother's Day. And he had a suit, and it's this raggedy suit, but he put it on, and Pastor Sammy was saying it was 10 o'clock the night before that Saturday night, and he's scrubbing his suit and making it clean, and he said, hey, I want to look sharp because my mom's coming tomorrow, and I want to look good for my mom. And so he cleaned his suit. Didn't do a very good job, but he got his suit cleaned and combed his hair and everything and looked really presentable. And he's like, yeah, my mom's gonna come, and she didn't show up. And he's like, oh, I think she got busy, but she's gonna show up. She's gonna show up a little bit later today. Like she got busy. Like she'll be here. And then she didn't come. And then he had a birthday party around that same time, and he's like, all right, my mom's like, she's for sure gonna show up for my birthday. She's not gonna miss my birthday. And she didn't show up, and he was sharing that, and I was like, that is put in perspective for me. Is like, again, we were talking about earlier about gratitude and how blessed we are. Is that kid is, I mean, compared to anything else, dude, we woke up today, nobody died, we have people that love us in our lives, we're still making money, we live a very comfortable life, and putting it into perspective of, oh, my problems really aren't that bad compared to this person. So I think just having a relationship with Pastor Sammy and going down there is like, it's always so sad. And I never cry, but hearing some of these people's stories, it just brings tears to my eyes. And we're blessed to be in a position where we can give back to that orphanage down there, and just hearing people's stories and understanding just how lucky we are to be born in America, and even to be in the life insurance industry and make the money we have. It's like, dude, what do you have to be upset about? So not to end the podcast on a downer, but that was a good perspective, and that was something that was on my heart I wanted to share. So dude, thanks for hopping on here. This has been a good podcast.
Thanks for having
I'm excited
us.
for you guys, and you guys are definitely next up in Pinnacle. So between you guys and Jake and Kyle, you guys and Turner, you guys are neck and neck every month. So excited to see where you guys go this past year. Guys, if you guys took value, like, subscribe, and share with somebody else who needs to hear this podcast. God bless. Boom.